Otherwise, if there's no information, it's not a business meeting. If you're not doing anything out there, auxiliary business, it's not an auxiliary business meeting. So the information, as well as the flotilla commander brings back information from the division. There's a lot of information that you should know from the division. The flotilla commander should be bringing that back from the, I thought you had something.
Yes. One of the things in this area, an email came out yesterday about member name and member ID. And I'm sure all of y'all got it or will see it soon. But we had our meeting last night. That was information that came up, you know, the same day that it came out. We got to report it at the meeting. So the flotilla commander had that. But sometimes the information you have might be a week or 2 or 3 weeks old. So you're going to have your notes. So it can go in lots of different ways. It can be what happened 3 hours ago, or it can be what happened 3 weeks ago at the division meeting.
Absolutely. Another, and I'm not making this up, again, and I will explain something to you about that in a few minutes. I'm not making this up. This is evidently what has happened over the years. This is in your manual. These are only some of the things that can lead to a flotilla meeting going bad. Leaders not wearing a uniform. If I was standing up here right now without this uniform on in my sloppy blue jeans or sweats or something, would you sitting out there looking at me say, how could she possibly be doing this? It's not that I don't know what to do, but does it look appropriate? Is it appropriate? Is the word for me to be here. Especially when I've asked you on the agenda to wear your uniform, and I come in sweats. Am I leading by example? Here it is again, lead by example. And there again, the information and no staff officer reports, that's kind of goes in with no staff officer reports. If you don't have a staff, now let's go back to the staff officer reports. Staff officers should give reports. The flotilla commander and the vice commander do not give those reports. They do not wrap them up into something and say, this is what's been done. Let your staff officers do their jobs. If they're out there doing a job, let them come back to the flotilla and say, this is what was done. Flotilla commander and vice commander should not stand up here and say, this is what was done this month. That's the staff officer's job. Go, Mary.
Your staff officers are going to be working for your chief of staff, and we have some vice commanders here. And one thing you want to let your staff officers do is they give their report for the previous 30 days since the last meeting. And they tell you what they have planned for the next 30 days before the meeting, before the next meeting. And that way, everybody that's at the meeting and the secretary gets the note, gets to record it. And if you, if your flotilla does a publication, a newsletter or whatever, it will probably show up in the newsletter. So, you know, it's a before and after. I'm going to tell you a story of what happened before this meeting, and I'm going to tell you a story about what we're going to do before the next meeting. So that's all it is. And it might only take a minute, or it might take 5 minutes. It just depends. It'll always be a little bit different. Okay.
And what is it? Again, it's I'm not going into what the staff officers need to do today, because we just want to get some information to all of you. So again, staff officers, we need staff officer training as well. And that's gonna happen this year. We're gonna ask all of you to support some staff officer training. And it'll be done by the division staff officers. But we're gonna ask you to support it because I can't go into that because we're not gonna have enough time. Frank?
Just an observation. If you watch TV long enough, you notice we have something called the Joint Chiefs of Staff on television. How come they never bring in the commandants or the top general or the top admiral? All of the decisions and all of the guts of the military are done by the chiefs of staff, not by the commanders or the leaders. It's all by the staff. Your staff has the same responsibility for your flotilla. If your staff isn't doing anything, your members aren't doing anything. In which case you have a hollow job, you're not doing anything.
Yes.
It's really important.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Those are important. And if you have observations, you can also say them like Harry has and Frank has. And Chuck can too. But if you have something to say, if you observe something in your flotilla that we're kind of talking about, go ahead and bring it forward and let everybody learn from it. Okay, we're going to review what we've just gone over. We've been at this about 40 minutes now. We're going to review this. Flotilla commander, who are you? The leader of the pack, right? The vice commander, you're the chief of staff. You look after that staff, vice commanders. You bring that information to the commander. Let the commander do his commander thing, or his or her commander thing. What have I said many times through this? Always lead by example. Lead by example in everything you do, not just wearing your uniform, everything you do. Always follow the agenda. Have I said it enough times? Always follow the agenda. And you know what? There's a lot of those extra things we could add there, but let's always have fun while we're doing it as well. Okay? Now, references. Is that out? Did you hand that out?
Would you like to do that now?
Yes, please.
I'll go for it.
There are references everywhere. Now, as you know, that one that I did send you was dated 1999. And everything that I looked at, everything that Harry looked at, everything that district looked at and presented, the ones online, it's all a lot of old information. I don't think I brought the one that I did pick up, that I did have, that I got from the national website. And in it, it said, it was the timeline for flotilla commanders, which we're going to go to in a little while. The timeline said, if you don't have any way to get online, then find somebody in your flotilla that can get online and find the information for you. How old is that? How old is that? Very old. So the references, I've given you a little list there, are the Flotilla Procedures Manual, which I already sent to you. The Auxiliary Manual is an annotated. If you go into the website, into the national website, it's annotated, and I think they update it whenever I hope they update it, whenever someone either sees a mistake in it, or when something is changed, but it's a living document. I love that word. Harry uses that a lot. It's a living document. The standardized flotilla standing rules. You all have new standing rules. They were all standardized last year. All of your flotilla commanders have the new ones, and they should be signed because I know the commander, the division commander, took them to each flotilla. Get them. If you're coming in as a new flotilla commander, get those from the old flotilla commander. It's one of the things you've got to keep moving along and pass on. The District 8 qualification job is also available to you. Go ahead. Are you gonna explain the job aid?
Oh, you want me, oh, I thought. you
No,
wanted-
that's okay, I didn't know whether you.
Yes, I'm going to.
All right, I thought it was.
You want me to do it now?
No, it's okay,
Okay.
in your time. On that list, I have, there's where you can find it. That's the national website. You can find the auxiliary manual, the flotilla procedures manual, all of them, everything we talked about. The auxiliary forms and the auxiliary directory. How many of you go into the national website? All right, good. You can't believe, it's growing, it's finally growing. You can't believe how sometimes I ask that question and not many people do that. But it's all, and have you all gotten to the auxiliary directory? You all go into the auxiliary directory, there's a lot of information in there that you don't necessarily have to go into off data to find about a member and their qualifications. It'll be on there.
And there's some things in there that are also in Ops data. It's just so much easier to find it in the directory than it is in Ops data. You don't have to change pages and do all this stuff. It'll screen will pop up and it'll give you the member's name and address and phone numbers and wife's name and you have to go all through Ops data to search that down.
Okay, go ahead. That was on national. Now there's your District 8 website. It's long, that's the way they've done it, that's that new WOW system that they have. That's it. It's a wow, all right. You know, I go into the national website, it's easier for me just to go into national and go over to the unit and go down the unit and hit HCR and it comes up like that, instead of putting all that in or even having it available for myself. There's the qualification job aid that Harry's going to talk about later. That's a good thing for you to do, to have. The District 8 Silver Ore Users Guide and the awards, which is recognizing our members. Now, I have copies of these up here, not to give out because I just didn't do that. And I was going to put them on a disc for everyone. The discs, first of all, discs are going to be, gone away pretty soon. Obsolete, that's the word I was looking for. And also, they change. Like, for instance, the user guide, the Silver Ore User Guide, that's already been changed this year, and some of you probably know about that. The awards recognizing our members, oh, I'm kind of like, aren't I? The awards, that's on the District 8, because that is District 8 only. Standing rules for the district or for the division, you'll find those on the division. You'll find the district standing rules on there. I didn't even put standing rules up there. Okay. Okay. But those are the ones that you can find up there with information for our district. Now, C-schools. Up there is the website for C-schools. These are a few of the C-schools that were given last year. There is a list of C-schools. When you go in on that website, you'll see there is a list. There's numerous amounts of C-schools, extra training schools. But if they don't have enough members that are interested in them, they don't hold them. These are the ones that were held this year. Now, out of all the ones they have, these were the few that were held. The Auxiliary Mid-Level Officers course, they call it AMLOC. Chuck went to it, and he said, Pat, you need to go to that. And first I thought, why do I need? I'm not good enough, I guess, but you need to. Because you have fun. You go with other auxiliaries that want to be flotilla commanders, want to go, which it says mid-level officers course, and you just have a lot of fun. You spend a couple of days. I went to San Antonio, and you will get paid to go, to stay there, to travel there. But here in this district, well, let's back up 1 minute. See where it says member must request a C-school through the flotilla commander? If you want to send somebody to C-school, or if they're interested, do it through the flotilla commander, you have to submit their name to DIROCS. And there is, on the website again, or if you call DIROCS, they will tell you who, and I think it's Carol Mumford, isn't it? Mumford?
Yes, the C school,
I don't think I put
the
that up.
person in charge of the C school in DHCR is Carol Mumford. And on the DIROCS webpage, you can drill down to a C school form that you have to submit. And if you talk to someone at DIROCS, or if you talk to Carol Mumford, both of them are gonna tell you fill the form out, and then I think there's a submit button on the form. There used to be, if they haven't changed it. And when you submit it, when it goes to DIROCS, it goes to Carol Mumford, and then that starts the process rolling.
And I can tell you, if you do it that way, it will go really easy for you. Because if you do it any other way, you're gonna have to kind of you're gonna have to find your way, or whoever you might send, their way. DIROCS sort of takes you by the hand and helps you.
Do not use the C school form on the national website, because it is not the District 8 form. They will
No.
make you resubmit it.
Right.
Yeah, use the
District 8 will, because I did that, because I didn't know it.
We've all done that.
And they told me, actually Carol emailed me and said, we don't do it that way in HCR. Because if you do it the other way, again, they're only gonna come back to you and say, we don't do it that way. Because they check it out to make sure that you're eligible, or whoever you're sending is eligible to go. And they do a lot of the figuring out for you. They'll find the way for you to get there, and they'll ask questions, and it's simpler to do it through HCR. Go ahead.
I would say this, one of the rules is if you've been to any C school in the previous 3 years, you cannot go to any other C school. You're gonna read that, okay?
Yeah.
I have heard of people that went to three different C schools in 1 year. So that tells me the best thing to do is fill the form out and submit it, and let somebody else decide whether they're eligible or not.
Let me give you a,
I believe that's because, what
yeah,
I believe
real,
that's probably because of,
yeah, there's schools like 04 and 610, Aux 12, which are kind of the C schools you take for various training purposes. However, aviation, anything that's considered kind of mandatory, they will put you through if you step into that position regardless of what you've had previously. Secondarily, direct input I got from Commander Hellstern was, if it is a leadership C school, they won't hold the three-year requirement against a leadership school. For example, as a flotilla commander, if you wanted to attend AMLOC, they would send you to AMLOC. So they're not gonna hold back on leadership, they consider that a good investment.
And the only way you're gonna know that is, of course Chuck just told you, but is if you go ahead and submit the form. And they, whoever you submit the form, DIROCS or Carol Mumford, they know that. So they'll approve or disapprove, and they'll give you a reason. So that's why I say, submit the form. You're not gonna get what you don't ask for. So, Mr. Carroll,
Are the budget restraints for next year gonna be an issue with the C schools?
Always.
well, let's not even, we're not even gonna go there until we meet that. Let's, yeah.
what I've heard on budget restraints for C schools is the way they're handling that. If they had a 50% cut in the budget, they're gonna have a 50% cut in the C school.
But
You either cut it here or you cut it there, but, I don't know if that's what they're actually doing, but that's what I heard they were gonna do.
We
Well,
are,
that's
we are attempting to have an AUX leadership, AUX Alliance A and B course here, hosted by San Jacinto College sometime later this year. Mr. Brzezicki, if you've ever been to any of the schools, you know that name. We were trying to host it down here, and the San Jacinto College, we're trying to work it out right now. But what they're trying to do is they're gonna send the instructors kind of on a road show, and then, but for example, to have one down here, we have to have like 25 students, so everybody here will be in non-reimbursable orders to go attend locally the C school in mass versus sending you out to like cool places like Anchorage or, Jacksonville and other places, so. We're gonna try to go to the more popular ones on the road show.
in
Cool
February.
places like Anchorage.
Hey, people wanna go to Alaska, you said.
That was my second choice, and the only reason I went to San Antonio, I asked for first choice, was because I was going to the national conference, and it fell in the same week, so I said, well, I'll do that as my first choice, because I was really hoping for Alaska.
I went to Tinker Air Force Base for mine, so there you go.
Oh, yeah, you did, that's right.
But I did buy an iPad, there are no lines.
But I think what we ought to do when it comes to budget is not worry about budget, and let's see what they're gonna offer and what we can get in when we have it. Oh, I guess you're up, and it is time.
It's time to take a break,
It's time to take a break, and then you're up,
okay.
exactly.